Greetings once again, fellow book lovers. It's time for another edition of Shelf Life Book Reviews Online, where I present to you a fascinating book that I've read, reviewed, and recommend. And today's book is Uncover Up: How to Think Clearly in an Age of Conspiracies. This is written by Kuhnkl and Nathan Radke. It's published by ECW Press. It retails for $23.95 in the United States, $28.95 in Canada, and it is 262 pages long. We've all heard of the conspiracy theories. Lately, coming out of, Washington, for example, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories around election time and rumors, lies, whatever you want to call them. Now, the authors in the book define conspiracy as what happens when a group of people collaborate against the public good in secret for their own gain. Now, the authors really do a deep dive into conspiracies because they're not just modern day. They actually talk about the Salem Witch Trials, that there were conspiracies going on, that so-and-so thought their neighbor was a witch. If something happened to their cattle, for example, and one of their cows died, they suspected that witchcraft was involved, and quite often a next door neighbor was mentioned as a possible witch. In fact, a lot of people were either burned at the stake, hung, or drowned because they suspected they were witches. Now, there was also the conspiracy theory during the Cold War, where people were worried about Russians. If anybody associated with a friend who was Russian, then there was a lot of talk about that, and people, it really got worse and worse and worse. And let's not forget the conspiracy theory when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas in November of 1963. There was so much. First, they said it was the CIA was part of it, and that there was a man on the hillside who had an umbrella, and he had the umbrella up, and he was called the Umbrella Man. And for years, people said that was the trigger time. As soon as he put up the umbrella, then that's when Kennedy was shot. Well, the man who had the umbrella, he did testify before a committee, and he just put the umbrella up because it was a warm day and he was shielded from the sun. So it really is fascinating how people take something so simple as that, for example, an umbrella, and associate it with the assassination. Now, there's also, in the 80s, there was talk that HIV/AIDS was created within a lab, and people believe that. Also, with COVID, they said the 5G network was responsible for the beginning of COVID. So the book is really filled with dozens and dozens of people who actually accepted conspiracy theories as fact. They also talk about the vaccine and autism, and they said there was a link in the doctor who did specify that he was stripped of his license. So there's also the talk of the cattle mutilations and aliens that came to Earth to tear apart the cattle, dissect them, take their flesh. Oh, the book is just ripe with it. In fact, there's a very interesting one, genes that were manufactured in the United States that were imported to Russia. There was the theory that in every pair of jeans, a secret glass vial was sewn into the material. And when Russians put on the jeans, the glass broke, and what came out of the glass was fleas who had been infected with syphilis. So that's how they supposedly were going to get syphilis spreading across Russia through the jeans and through fleas somehow infected with syphilis. So anyways, this book is a joy to read. It's, well, like they say, you take life with a grain of salt, you take the book with a grain of salt, but it really is fascinating to see how many conspiracy theories have been made by people since, well, almost since time began. So Uncover Up is definitely a book. I'm not going to spread a conspiracy, but I will say if you read this book, you're going to be entertained and enlightened. So you can call it a conspiracy theory if you want to. I recommend this book. So if you do purchase it, drop me a line. Let me know if you do agree with my review. So I'll be back again very soon with another first-rate book. And until then, as I always say, stay safe, stay healthy, stay in touch, and I will see you at the bookstore. Bye for now.